Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sun Journal's preview of the 2017 MPA basketball tournament. Justin Pelletier here, joined by Lee Horton and Randy Whitehouse. Very good, Randy. You can figure out who's who. That's fantastic. We're going to break down for you the brackets in the girls tournament here from the palatial Sun Journal Park Street Studios. Lee and Randy have graciously agreed to join us here, and thank you all very much for being here on this snowy day, or about to be snowy day.
I think it was a little more than an agreement, boss.
I don't think we had a choice.
We'll get to that later. We have some great top seeds across the girls tournament. We have either a 1 or a 2 seed, I'm pretty sure, in almost every single one of them, all the way across the board. I think C, we have a 3, so it's pretty close. So we have some really good, strong, talented teams here in our region. So let's go straight from the top and start with the AA tournament, the AA girls tournament, in which we have 3 of the 6 teams in AA North from the Sun Journal coverage area. Lewiston coming in the 6 hole, and then of course Oxford Hills and Edward Little in the 1-2. So let's start there. Lee, talk a little bit about what we can expect from this AA North tournament.
It seems like it's definitely Oxford Hills' tournament to lose, I would say, because they play defense, very good defense. They can play in the post. They can score off driving. They have a lot of good shooters. They can play any kind of game. I think that's why they were able to tear through their schedule. Not easily, but they really handled their schedule. The only loss came to Bangor when Jada Adams was out. So I think it's going to be hard for anybody to beat them, but they're not unbeatable, I would say. Edward Little has the defense that is going to give anybody a problem, and so it's going to depend on how. If they can score in bunches a few times in every game, they could beat anybody. Scoring is going to be the big thing for them. And in Lewiston, they got a mix of players who were there last year, and they made kind of a tiny run through the tournament with some talented freshmen. So they could upset anybody there too. I think Deering's going to be the scary team to watch. They're the only team that really gave Oxford Hills any competition. It took a buzzer-beating 3-pointer by Julia Colby for Oxford Hills to win that game. So I think I think the 3 teams to watch are going to be Oxford Hills, Edward Little, and Deering, but Lewiston could make a run. They could upset any of those teams.
Almost kind of a bad draw for Lewiston to draw that Deering team as opposed to the Chevers team, because they played Chevers really, really tough during the regular season, but they had some problems with Deering, and I think for them, they're going to have to play. Lewiston's going to have to play the best game of the year to advance. Yeah. Not out of the realm of possibility. They do have some gamers on that team, but it's going to be a tall order.
And the thing with Lewiston is they play really good in spurts, and then they kind of go down, and it's because they have so many probably young players and experience. But if they got a game going where they could, they could definitely pull that off.
Then of course that would set up a Lewiston Edward Little
semifinal,
which everybody around here loves to possibly guess about. So
that'd be fun.
Randy, Class C. We're going to skip Class B for a second. We'll go to Class C for a second. Class C is a really crowded region this year. There seems to be it's very top heavy. There are a lot of good top teams in this bracket. Richmond, of course, being the quote-unquote unknown because they're coming in their second year in C after being Class D, but they've always been a dominant program in D. A lot of their program's success this year came against D schools again, but they did have a couple of games in there against some C schools, but they've just been a very, very solid team top to bottom. They're up there at the top. Madison's a team you have to watch out for, and they slid into the 5 spot. And so, I mean, you've got quality teams 1 through 5 at least able to come out of that bracket.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth there. I think people that will look at the bracket will kind of overlook Richmond because of what you mentioned about their schedule. I think one thing with Richmond is last year was of course their first year. They were I think the top seed, very high seed.
They were top seed.
Yeah, and they didn't really know what to expect. I mean, this is a group of girls that has won in soccer, won in softball, but of course that's been all in the Class D level. But they've had success in basketball in Class C, and I just think they're going to be tougher this year to beat, just because they have a better idea of what to expect in terms of the change in quality of opponents. But still, a lot of people are going to look past them and consider Booth Bay the favorite, and I can completely understand that. I mean, you look at the players that they have, Paige Brown, of course. It's just, like you say, a top-heavy group, but the thing about the C tournament is teams don't typically come out of that first or prelim round really having been tested a lot. It really comes down to how ready you are in the semifinals, what kind of matchup you draw in the semifinals. Typically we see those upper echelon teams go deep into the tournament, and I think for the most part that's going to be the case this year. So that's why I think Richmond and Booth Bay and Monmouth are going to be really the teams to beat.
You mentioned Monmouth, and I'm glad you did, because their preliminary matchup, even though it's the first of the prelims as far as the upper teams having to play a prelim, the 3-14, Searsport was always a team that plays a Northern D schedule, even though they're in the southern part of the tournament, and they always seem to have a quality team. And with Monmouth playing that unknown, that to me is one of the more intriguing prelim matchups. Assuming the seeds hold, then that would set up a Monmouth number 3, and they're in the Waynfleet bracket. So those girls at Monmouth are very familiar with the Waynfleet folks from the other sports that they play against them, as particularly in soccer this past fall. They saw them in the playoffs 2 falls in a row. They've seen them in the playoffs. So and it's a lot of the same athletes at those Class C schools that play these marquee sports. So there's some history there. So I think Monmouth has an intriguing road as well.
They're going to be tested from the start. They're going to be, and so that could help them down the road. They're going to be, honed in on the postseason pretty quickly. They're not going to waste any time. And that's those 3 teams. I've seen all 3 of those 3 teams play: Richmond, Booth Bay, and Monmouth, and they're all really tough, really good defensive teams. They have some really good players, and either of those teams could win. It's going to be fun to see how that plays out. It's too bad that they can't have like a 3-way championship game so they could just meet and duke it out like that, because that'd be a lot of fun.
Switching gears again now, we're going to go back to Class B, where last year Grey New Gloucester made a run into the state final and lost there. They are back as the top seed in the B bracket in B South again. Let's take a look at that. You've seen them play a couple of times, Lee. What's the biggest thing about them? What's their strength?
Their strength is very similar to what I was saying about Oxford Hills. They play defense, they can shoot, they can score from in the post. One of their weaknesses has been playing against the zone, but Poland played a zone against them on Friday, and they just tore that apart. They were making their shots from the outside. And so I think that's going to be tough for anybody to beat them. They didn't have any trouble with any of the other Class B South teams. So I would think that the real competition might be Mountain Valley, because they don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. The teams haven't played each other. I saw Mountain Valley's coach at the game on Friday, so they've obviously scouted each other, but they don't know. They haven't faced Ashley Russell. Talking about Grey New Gloucester hasn't. They haven't faced her, and also the defense of Emily Billings is amazing at point guard. So it's going to be hard to even get the ball the court against them. So I would say it's going to be Grey New Gloucester or Mountain Valley in that one.
It's kind of funny too, because you've got the third conference thrown in there. You got the Western Maine Conference with Grey New Gloucester, Poland coming in as the 7, Mountain Valley coming out of the Mountain Valley Conference, but you also got Lincoln coming out of the KVAC, playing in another set of different schedules. They're matching up with Mountain Valley in that 3-6, and Lincoln always plays those teams from the WMC and the MVC tough in this tournament bracket. So it'll be interesting to see where that comes out. And then of course you move on to Class D. Surprise, surprise, Rangeley Lakers are your number 1 seed in Class D South once again, coming off of 2 state game appearances, 1 victory, and looking to make it a second in a row here.
Yeah, and they played the back-to-back games with Vinyl Haven, and Vinyl Haven won Friday night by a lot, but then the next morning Rangeley came back and won, and that was when I talked to them. That was kind of a big proving point for them, that they were learning from their mistakes, because they are a growing team. Rangeley, they've played Richmond twice, and they had
a tough time.
25 and 27 point deficits both times. Vinyl Haven played Richmond twice, lost twice, but they were much closer games. But it could be that Richmond is just a tougher matchup, especially because Richmond has post player Sydney Tilton Underhill, or Underhill Tilton, I don't know. But and Rangeley doesn't have a post presence like that anymore, because Blake Moore has graduated. So it could just be a matchup thing, but it seems like Rangeley, they have a lot of good players, and they could I would think they would come out of that. But it could be a pretty good championship game between those two.
Yeah, those D brackets are always fun. Randy can attest up at the Augusta Civic Center. Those D brackets always seem to provide that most drama, whether it's Forest Hills on the boys' side or Rangeley on the girls' side. There always seems to be some sort of great drama near the end of these things. So
And bring bad crowds in AA too.
yeah, it's also true. The whole towns come in and show up at these things, so it's really fun to watch. Well, we hope you enjoy watching this week. Randy Whitehouse, Lee Horton, Justin Pelletier for the Sun Journal here, previewing your tournament, your girls' tournament. You can follow us all week at sunjournal.com/tourney17. That's TOURNEY17. Also on social media, on Instagram and on Twitter, using the hashtag tourney17. And also for all of your news in sports across the state, hashtag ME Sports. Thank you all very much. See you at the tournament.